Chapter 326. You're a member of Tong Ziqing's team, so the points from killing the magical beasts naturally belong to your team members. Yiqing Luo brushed away the wooden token on her waist as she replied disapprovingly. Then why did you ask me to kill the magical beast? You should be the one to do it. And Rupin bit her lower lip and looked like she wanted to cry but had no tears. She had put in so much effort just to earn more points for her goddess. Who would have thought that it would actually benefit Tong Ziqing? Don't feel resentful. That's your team. It's your team. Yiqing Luo played it down as she continued to walk forward. Your motive for participating in the actual combat training is to help your team accumulate points. And Raw Pan pursed her lips as she silently followed behind Yiqing Luo. At this time the sky had already turned completely dark. The dense trees around them looked like witches with their hands wide open, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, trying to swallow people into their stomachs. Do you know when the entrance to the training forest closes? For the entire day apart from Dan Baishi and the others, Xian and Rupin did not see anyone else. He wondered how the other students were faring. And Raw Pan raised her head and looked at the sky that was covered by the lush foliage. It was so dark that not a single ray of light could be seen. Vice Class Monitor said that we must report to the secret passage before the night. What time of the day? Yiqing Luo calculated that there were still about 2 hours left. Scope. Yiqing Luo opened her arms and stretched her muscles. And Rupin was confused. Where are we going? Yiqing Luo twisted her neck and said lightly, looking for students snatching points. And Rupin blinked and returned to her senses after a while. Yiqing Luo had already walked far away and she hurriedly jogged up to her. Madam Qing Luo, are you going to snatch other students' wooden tokens? If they didn't snatch it now, when would they? These students had been working hard for an entire day, and at this time, they were exhausted. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a crafty arc. The most important thing now was to find the other students. And Raw Pan went into a daze for some time before she understood Yiqing Luo's meaning from the deep smile on her lips. Madam Qing Luo, you're so treacherous. His words had just ended when his body was suddenly pulled by Yiqing Luo and he stood behind 2 huge trees. Ouch. And Rupin's body was slammed against the tree trunk, and her face was covered by the surrounding leaves. Qing. Before he could say anything, Yiqing Luo growled, "Shut up." Yiqing Luo's expression was grave as she squinted her eyes and looked ahead through the tree branches. Not far away there was a hubbub of noise. More than 10 students dressed in green and white uniforms surrounded a person who had fallen to the ground. He could vaguely hear the coarse curses of a few people. What is this thing? It actually ran into the training forest? He's neither a human nor a beast. The training forest is basically sealed off. It's only opened when the classes have actual combat training. How could something else have gotten in? While those people were discussing, they heard another person shout, "Make way, the acting vice president is here, everyone make way." The students surrounding him immediately moved aside to make a path for him. Through the luminous pearls in the students' hands, Yiqing Luo saw that person's face on the ground. It was an unfamiliar face and he was not a student of the devil class. That was a petite young lady curled up on the ground. The young lady's attire was extremely strange. It was a black furry long robe wrapping around her petite body. That exquisite little face was as pale as a piece of paper. Chapter 327. The students in front of her were all from the high profound class. No wonder she hadn't seen any devil class students. Unknowingly she had barged into the high profound class. Fortunately, she didn't bump into any high profound class students along the way. Otherwise, if the high profound class knew that she had entered the training forest, it would implicate the devil class. And Raw Pan also noticed the figure in front of her and froze on the spot, not daring to move. On the other side, following the respectful greetings of the students, Lu Shuelon slowly walked in front of the young girl, surrounded by the stars and the moon. A little girl? Lu Shuelon squinted her beautiful eyes as she lifted her leg and gave the young lady a kick. Where did you come from? The young lady opened her clear eyes and shrank back as she shook her head. Bring her out and hand her over to the elder quarters. Lu Shuelon rolled her eyes in disdain, as arrogant as a rooster. Don't bother me with such a small matter, I'm very busy. Yes, Vice President is appointed today and has so many things on hand. For the glory of the high profound class, you took time out of your busy schedule to participate in the actual combat training. It's just a stranger, just hand her over to the elder. A female student beside her smiled flatteringly as she kept on bootlicking. Such a responsible vice president like vice president, I think it won't be long before you can officially take up the post. Lu Shuilon had a complacent look as she laughed and walked past the young lady. Lu Shuiyu was punished and Lu Shuilon took over. These two sisters looked very close on the surface, but she didn't expect that. They were scheming against each other for the sake of status. Madame Qing Luo, that person looks so pitiful. And I Ruo Pan said in a low voice. Yiqing Luo's eyes flickered slightly. That young lady was covered in injuries, and if she didn't take the time to treat her, she might not even be able to keep her life. She wondered what kind of cruel methods these high profound class students had used on a little girl. But Yiqing Luo didn't want to be nosy. She couldn't care less. She wasn't omnipotent. There were more than 10 high profound class students. If she rushed out, wouldn't she be courting death? Especially if she were to poke her nose into this, wouldn't it be telling the high profound class students that she had come to the training forest? And then it would implicate the devil class? In the end, the elder would investigate and close the secret passage to the training forest? Little Luo. Just as Yiqing Luo was about to pull Ni Ruo Pan away, Old Man Song's voice suddenly rang in her mind. She was startled and replied, I'm here. If I'm not mistaken, that girl should be a beastman. Beastmen? Yiqing Luo frowned, not understanding what the beast human clan was. The beastmen race is different from magical beasts. Magical beasts are pure beasts, while the beastmen race should be considered half human and half beast. Old Man Song explained in a deep voice. The beastmen race is born half human and half beast. Hearing Old Man Song's words, Yiqing Luo then noticed that the lady lying on the ground had 2 black ears on top of her bundled up hair. It was furry and trembled from time to time. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes. Cat beast. The beastman clan is extremely rare in the Nirvana realm, and it can even be said that they have long been extinct. Old Man Song was silent for a moment and his tone became serious. I never thought that I would actually be able to see another beastman. The Nirvana realm was already extinct? Could it be that this young lady came from outside the Nirvana realm? Chapter 328. Contract. Although the beastmen looked like half human and half beast, but if you didn't look closely, no matter how you looked at it, it looked like a human. If you made a contract with it, it felt like you were making a contract with a person. The biggest difference between the magical beasts and the beastmen is this. Old Man Song continued in a deep voice. The magical beast contract is your battle partner for you to ride, to cooperate with you in battle. Whereas the beastman contract is to provide you with internal support, to receive the beastman's bloodline inheritance. Bloodline? Bloodline inheritance is to share the strength of the beastmen with you. Old Man Song's tone became a little excited. Humans all want to sign a contract with the beastmen, to receive the beastman's bloodline inheritance. This will be of great help to your cultivation. You mean I should save her? Yiqing Luo raised her brows slightly. This is for your own good. The beastmen appearing in Nirvana realm is a rare opportunity. Indeed, it was a rare opportunity. But, under such circumstances, how should she save that young lady? Madame Qing Luo, what are you thinking about? Ni Ruo Pan carefully tugged at Yiqing Luo's sleeve. Yiqing Luo kept a calm face and didn't make a sound. Ni Ruo Pan was a little scared. A way to save her. Yiqing Luo frowned as her brain worked. She saw a student lifting the young lady with one hand and preparing to leave the training forest. Yiqing Luo didn't have time to hesitate. She gritted her teeth and used her thoughts to call out Shiju. Ever since leaving the magic beast forest, Shiju had been staying in the pet space. Shiju was the same size as Chi-Chi, sitting on the ground and looking up at Yiqing Luo. Ni Ruo Pan was shocked when a little thing suddenly popped out. Yiqing Luo quickly untied her uniform and took out a set of red dress that Zhou Xian had prepared for her from the profound phoenix ring. She threw the uniform to Ni Ruo Pan. Do you still remember the way? Ni Ruo Pan nodded. She might not be good at other things, but her memory was the best. She followed Yiqing Luo left and right along the way. To prevent getting lost, she specially remembered all the roads. Alright, go back the way you came and wait for me at the place where we met. Yiqing Luo said as she untied her hair tie. letting her fine black hair fall down. You want to be alone. There's less than 2 hours left. We'll leave immediately after we save them. At the same time when her words fell, Shiju received Yiqing Luo's instructions and its palm-sized figure suddenly transformed into a leopard beast in battle form. Roar! A sharp howl came from Shiju's mouth. The size of Shiju's combat form was a little bigger than when he saw it in the magical beast forest. This change naturally attracted the attention of the high-level class students. Yiqing Luo leaped up and landed on the back of Shiju. At the same time her fingertips lifted a white veil, covering half of her face. When Shiju transformed, Enai Rupin was completely stunned. Her aptitude was mediocre but she had a good memory. She liked to read books that were helpful to her cultivation. Naturally, he could recognize that this leopard-shaped magical beast was a low-level magical beast. A mirage beast. What level of magical beast was that? In the entire Three Springs city, there were no more than 3 families that could take out a mirage beast. Madame Qing Luo had actually contracted a mirage beast as her own war pet. Oh my god. What kind of pervert was her goddess? Chapter 329. Yiqing Luo's vision had been paying attention to Enai Ruopan. Seeing that she had gone far away, Yiqing Luo rode on Shiju and speedily approached that group of students. Who is it? More than 10 students stopped in their tracks and raised the luminous pearl. One of the students frowned and berated sternly, "Do you know what this place is?" These students had some doubts in their hearts. The entrance to the heavenly training forest would usually only be opened during class training. Why were there so many strangers today? Wait. Some students exclaimed, "That's a mirage beast. Low-level mirage beast." More than 10 students' expressions changed when they heard the 2 words, mirage beast. Their faces revealed an astonished look. Mirage beast? Even if it was a low-level mirage beast, they would not be its opponent even if they worked together to deal with it. But there was actually a person sitting on the back of a low-level mirage beast. There was actually someone who could contract a mirage beast. What happened? Suddenly, a clear and melodious voice came from afar. Yiqing Qian stepped on the air and landed gracefully in front of the students. Yiqing Qian had been living a miserable life recently. Ever since the last time when she brought Lu Shuiyu to catch Yiqing Luo for violating the school rules, but was slapped on the face by Yiqing Luo and was forced to wash the toilet for 3 days, Yiqing Qian had been isolated by the students. Lu Shuiyu wouldn't do anything to her on the surface, but the means of revenge in the dark was enough to torture her until she begged for mercy. Today, Lu Shuilan's promotion saved her from the edge of isolation. She wanted to achieve a good result in today's actual combat training, to regain the good impression of the students. Coincidentally, she had accumulated over 40 points and was preparing to leave to find Lu Shuilan to flatter her, but she discovered the commotion over here. Thinking of the recent few days, the students had isolated her under Lu Shuiyu's hint. She had to change her image and maintain the reputation of Three Springs Town's #1 beauty. Therefore, after she saw the commotion, she immediately came up to welcome them. Student Qing Qian. A student saw Yiqing Qian's arrival and was overjoyed. Although Yiqing Qian had offended Lu Shuiyu these few days, everyone had been avoiding her. But today Lu Shuilan had ascended to the position and everyone wasn't willing to offend the pampered eldest young miss of Three Springs sect, so they tried to cater to her perfunctorily. Most importantly, Yiqing Qian's profound grade was above them. Student Qing Qian, there's a stranger in the training forest. The student pointed at the young lady who was being carried, and glanced at Yiqing Luo's direction apprehensively. The minute Yiqing Qian came over, her vision fell onto Yiqing Luo. That red dress which was like a blooming rose and that enchanting temperament made her subconsciously think of Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Qian's eyes darkened as her gaze turned sharp. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she met Yiqing Qian's probing gaze with a smile which didn't look like a smile. The red lips under the veil curled up into a sneer. He had not expected Yiqing Qian to be here as well. But Yiqing Qian's eyes seemed to have recognized her. Yiqing Qian understood her so well? Yiqing Luo's charming eyes curved as she intentionally suppressed her own voice, changing the tone of her voice. I'm just passing by this place. I don't want to start a dispute with you. I only need you to hand that young lady over to me. Passing by? Yiqing Qian scoffed. The entrance here is usually sealed and only open today. How did you pass by? What has it got to do with you? Yiqing Luo patted Shiju lightly, indicating it to come closer. Chapter 330. No matter how mentally prepared Yiqing Qian was, she couldn't help but shriek out in fright when she saw the head of a huge leopard. I have no intention to cause trouble, hand the girl over to me and I will leave immediately. Yiqing Luo spat in disdain as she raised her eyes and looked directly at the direction of the girl. The student who was carrying the young girl fell to the ground when his gaze swept past him. She blinked her eyes, her pure eyes revealed a bit of fear and innocence, a delicate and pitiful look. Yiqing Luo's figure swayed as she flipped down from the jade and flew towards the girl. Just as her hand was about to pull the girl into her arms, suddenly a paw-paw sound came from the air. A soft whip as fast as lightning lashed over fiercely, making a whistling sound in the air. Trespassers in the heavenly training forest must be arrested and sent to the elder quarters. Yiqing Qian shouted and waved the long whip to stop Yiqing Luo's action. That whip was lashed with great force. Yiqing Luo's hand retracted and her body fell down softly. Her body had already avoided this long whip in an extremely strange posture. Yiqing Qian's delicate brows twisted into a ball and her face turned extremely ugly. She was unconvinced as she flipped the long whip and lashed it towards Yiqing Luo's body. Yiqing Qian's original weapon was a soft whip. Previously Yiqing Luo had destroyed a supreme divine whip and Yi Tianquang had found a pure quality long whip for her. Although it was not as powerful as the previous divine whip, but after all it was still the best of the pure quality. When the whip lashed down, there was a trace of indistinct electric current running along the whip's body. She is indeed student Qing Qian, the #1 genius beauty of Three Springs sect, a well-deserved reputation. The high profound class students couldn't help but praise Yiqing Qian's action and posture. These students' aptitudes were all above average. But that didn't stop them from praising the strong. Yiqing Qian's whip skills were incomparably elegant. His every move was like a dance. And that long whip swept through the air, brought about a sound of breaking wind, which made one's heart tremble. Even if it was them, probably no one could avoid Yiqing Qian's whip. But what surprised them was that the red-clothed woman with a white veil on her face was as nimble as a loach. They were unable to catch her at all. Yiqing Qian's every whip missed. The whips struck the ground around them, causing cracks to appear on the ground. Yiqing Luo took out a dagger from the profound phoenix ring and pointed it at Yiqing Qian. The radiance of the night pearls in the surroundings reflected the dagger's blade aura. It was extremely dazzling. Yiqing Luo didn't use the glower flame fan and based on Yiqing Qian's understanding of herself, she would probably be recognized the minute she used the fan. Yiqing Luo was proficient in light weapons, daggers and feather fan were no different. That dagger could cut through iron like mud. It had barely touched Yiqing Qian by half an inch and it had already been cut. But as the dagger flew around Yiqing Luo's fingertips, it didn't hurt her fingers at all. On the contrary, Yiqing Qian was forced to retreat by that dagger. Yiqing Luo's control of the dagger was extremely agile, as it slashed towards her body, as though it would slice her neck in the next second. The terrain of the training forest was extremely disadvantageous to Yiqing Qian. The surrounding forest was dense and Yiqing Qian's long whip, the space was too narrow and faced with resistance. The power was not even half of the power displayed in a spacious area. Chapter 331. After a few rounds, Yiqing Qian was like a mouse being teased, unable to resist at all. When the surrounding students saw this scene, the admiration towards Yiqing Qian gradually turned into ridicule. Yiqing Qian's face flushed red. This was called not being able to act cool and instead became a coward. She whipped the long whip hatefully, wishing she could whip the lady in red 81 times. Women in red were all so hateful. Yiqing Luo was. And this lady too. Why are you all still standing there foolishly? If the elder knew that an outsider had entered the training forest and we let the outsider escape, how would he punish the high profound class? At this moment Yiqing Qian had no intention to continue to be in the limelight. Her mind was filled with thoughts of gathering more than 10 students to take down this lady in red and let her torture her. The high profound class students frowned, not liking Yiqing Qian's tone. They had always been respected in the academy and were used to being flattered. They were used to seeing Yi Qingqian's gentle and generous look, but when they heard Yi Qingqian's commanding words, they revealed a displeased look. Seeing that those students were unmoved, Yi Qingqian was so angry that she almost vomited blood. In this moment of absent-mindedness, there was a cold touch on her cheek. She immediately concentrated and was about to avoid it. However, the enchanting figure in red before him waved her sleeves lightly. An icy coldness streaked across her cheek. Immediately, there was a stinging pain on the side of her cheek as if there was liquid flowing out. You dare to ruin my face." Yi Qingqian's eyes widened as she reached out to touch her cheek. Sure enough, there was a stickiness on her hand. What women cared most about was their own appearance. Especially Yi Qingqian, who was known as the #1 beauty in Three Springs City, she cared about her own appearance even more. Yi Qingluo played with the dagger in her hand, which was stained with blood. Her brows revealed a mocking sneer. "Next time it will be your left cheek, are you ready?" Yi Qingqian gripped the long whip tightly and lashed it towards Yi Qingluo in anger. A strong profound qi broke out from Yi Qingqian's body. A powerful wave of qi encircled her body. That long whip drew a black arc in midair, like a soft snake as it wound towards Yi Qingluo. With a belly full of anger, the profound energy released was much more ferocious than before. If you're still students of the high profound class, you shouldn't just stand by and watch. Not only will we be punished by the elders for trespassing into the training forest, but we will also be reported to the entire academy. When that time comes, I won't be the only one who will be embarrassed. Yi Qingqian had learned her lesson this time round. These students had stood at the top for a long time, and they valued their reputation more than anyone else. Inform the entire academy that the high profound class had released a stranger who trespassed into the training grounds. The one who was embarrassed was the entire high profound class. If word got out that a dozen of them from the high profound class allowed a girl to come and go as she pleased and even brought an injured person away, the students from the other classes would probably doubt the capability of the high-level class. Those 10 students exchanged glances and headed towards Yi Qingluo's direction, surrounding her. "Shijua." Yi Qingluo's eyes flashed coldly as her lips curled into a treacherous sneer. She shouted out, and Shiju, who was originally standing not too far away, widened its beast eyes as it stared unblinkingly at its master. With a leap, it broke through those 10 students' encirclement and stood right in front of Yi Qingluo. It arched its body, opened its mouth and gave out a low growl. Its sharp fangs were exceptionally dazzling. Chapter 332. One must know that if it was an experienced mercenary group facing a mirage beast, they would feel guilty. Not to mention these students. Yi Qingqian swallowed a mouthful of saliva, looking at the lady riding on the mirage beast's back. The coquettish red figure stung her eyes. She suppressed the surging fear in her heart and pursed her red lips tightly. This lady's profound grade is not high. As long as we restrain the mirage beast, we will subdue her, and that mirage beast will not dare to be rash. Just now, when they exchanged blows, Yi Qingqian sensed that the lady's profound grade was not considered high. She was able to avoid her long whip only because of the terrain here and the lady's agility. The only thing worthy of their vigilance was that low-grade mirage beast. Red dress, leopard-type mirage beast. If it wasn't for the fact that this mirage beast was not very similar to the leopard-type mirage beast they saw in the magical beast, Yi Qingqian would have thought that this lady was Yi Qingluo. However, when she thought that Yi Qingluo was still in the waist class and had no chance to appear here, she suppressed this thought in her heart. More than a dozen students heard this and once again surrounded Yi Qingluo and Shiju. "Miss, this is the Heavenly Academy's restricted area. You trespass here has violated the school's rules. You'd better surrender obediently and follow us to see the elders." One of the male students frowned and tried to reason with Yi Qingluo. The prestige of the Heavenly Academy had spread throughout the Nirvana realm. Daring to create trouble in the Heavenly Academy, if the elders were to punish you severely, you might lose half your life. However, the lady opposite did not show any signs of fear. With a veil covering her face, he could not see her expression clearly. However, that pair of cold, enchanting eyes was like an ice-cold, poisonous tongue, ruthlessly pinching his heart. This lady's aura was too majestic. Even the name of the Heavenly Academy couldn't suppress her. What's the point of talking so much? The entrance to the training forest is about to close. Yi Qingqian's gentle and beautiful face was covered with a layer of sternness. Her voice also added some majesty. You guys, go to the entrance to call for help. Today we must take down these outsiders who trespass into the training forest. Pausing for a moment, she continued, for outsiders to trespass into the training forest, it is very likely to affect the safety of the other students. As students of the high profound class, if we can save the hidden safety of the school, it would be an honor for the high profound class. One of them went to the entrance to report while the others continued to be in a deadlock with Yiqing Luo. The dense forest in the training forest covered the bright moon in the sky. The surroundings were dark and gloomy, terrifying and extremely stifling. Yi Qingqian had always been one of the top students in the class. Even though she had lost face and reputation due to many things, her strength was still there. At this moment, Yi Qingqian put on a solemn expression as she commanded everyone in an orderly manner. The other students were also thinking the same thing. To let the high profound class become the target of envy from the other classes, they immediately developed a conflicted heart and cooperated with Yi Qingqian. One must know that even though their high profound class was revered by the other students, however they were still suppressed by the class of gods. At the mention of the high profound class, the students had to mention the class of gods and use it as a comparison. Yi Qingqian ordered 2 people to guard the injured young lady, in case she was taken away by Yiqing Luo. If Yiqing Luo was taken away, they would not be able to catch up to her when she rode on the mirage beast. Yi Qingqian glanced sideways at the young lady lying on the ground. A cold glint appeared in her eyes as the long whip moved again. Chapter 333. Shiju's size was huge, but it was extremely agile. The surrounding dense forest was not a hindrance to it but a help. Its thick claws slammed hard on the ground and its huge body had already soared into the air. On the other hand, the earth quaked and the mountains shook as countless cracks appeared on the ground. Yi Qingqian didn't stop as she released her profound qi and injected it into the long whip. Her target was only Shiju. The surrounding students also quickly surrounded him and attacked him. Their target was Yiqing Luo. One against the mirage beast, the other against Yiqing Luo. One had to admit that Yi Qingqian's move was indeed ingenious. When Yi Qingqian attacked Shiju, Shiju avoided the attack of the long whip and charged forward to counterattack. On Yiqing Luo's side, a few high profound class students attacked from the left and right, setting off bursts of palm wind as they struck towards Yiqing Luo's face. Yiqing Luo and Shiju hadn't been together for a long time and the human and beast had yet to develop a tacit understanding. The high profound class split up to attack and Yiqing Luo was at a disadvantage. Just as Yi Qingqian's upper body curled up a whirlwind, Yiqing Luo's body flipped and rolled down from Shiju's back. When the students saw this, joy flashed past their eyes. As long as Yiqing Luo didn't have the mirage beast's help, it would be easy to capture her. Yi Qingqian's lips curled into a cold smile as she shouted, "Student Yen, Student Shangguan, I'll have to trouble the both of you to trap this mirage beast." Among the students who were entangled with Yiqing Luo, 2 of them retreated from the battle and flew towards Yi Qingqian's direction. A man and a woman. The man was holding a long sword and had a proper appearance. The minute he got close to Shiju, the long sword in his hand curled up a ray of sword radiance as it struck towards Shiju. After being shouted at by Yi Qingqian suddenly realized that this man holding a long sword, wasn't he Shangguan Lu Li's third brother Shangguan Fangyi? As for the other woman, her looks were exquisite and her brows had the same gentleness as Yi Qingqian. Only her eyes revealed a hint of viciousness. Not knowing if it was because the surroundings were too dark or Yiqing Luo's eyes were blurry, Yiqing Luo actually felt that this woman looked like someone. Not giving Yiqing Luo much time to think, Yi Qingqian's long whip had already lashed towards her. The 2 people that Yi Qingqian had chosen, one used a long blade while the other used a pair of blades. With their coordination, they really managed to block Shiju who was about to rush towards Yiqing Luo. This was the academy. Yiqing Luo could not kill anyone. Shiju could dodge and put on a threatening stance, but it couldn't really use its claws and mouth. Otherwise, with a single swipe of its claws, these high-profound class students would be turned into meat patties. If they were to leave with the cat beast girl, These high-level class students would leave this matter unsettled in order to protect the reputation of the high-level class. Even if the academy were to conduct a thorough investigation, it would be done in secret to prevent disrupting the students' concentration in class. But if someone were to die here and it was a high-profound class student, the consequences would be different. At this moment Yiqing Luo was surrounded by 5 high-profound class students. Yiqing Jian sneered, "Trespasser, how dare you intrude into our high-profound class territory? Now pay the price for your ignorance." That lady in red, as she walked, her skirt was slightly fluttering, like a rose blooming in the dark night, revealing a flirtatious yet fatal charm. In the darkness, it seemed as if a figure in Yiqing Qian's heart was gradually overlapping. If there was something strange, then it was strange that this lady had to wear a red skirt and looked so similar to that little slut Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Qian's eyes seemed to be dipped in poison, becoming increasingly vicious. Seeing that Yiqing Qian's long whip was about to land on Yiqing Luo. Chapter 334. Yiqing Luo's speed was extremely fast, like a ghost. A chill arose in Yiqing Qian's heart. Just now when Yiqing Luo got close to her, her face was ruined by Yiqing Luo. With the previous lesson, Yiqing Qian swiftly retreated and with a feint, she avoided Yiqing Luo's entanglement. Yiqing Qian's long whip was a long-distance attack. And Yiqing Luo's dagger could only be used in close combat. As long as Yiqing Luo didn't get close to her, Yiqing Luo couldn't do anything to her. With this thought in mind, Yiqing Qian's eyes shot out a ray of light and the hand holding the long whip waved again. Yiqing Luo raised her brows with interest. Perhaps it was because she had trained Yiqing Qian previously, the current her seemed to be much more mature. She actually knew how to use her brain to think of a way to deal with it. Seemed like she had underestimated Yiqing Qian previously, treating her as a brainless idiot with big breasts. Yiqing Luo chuckled. Hearing that chuckle, Yiqing Qian's expression congealed. The cold glint in her eyes deepened as she raised her palm and brushed against the long whip. The whip's body suddenly shone with a red glow. Strong, profound qi burst forth, like a snake that was blooming with light, slithering up. Earth profound early stage. Student Qing Qian actually broke through the earth profound stage. The 2 students who were guarding the cat beast girl had been watching the battle closely. The moment they saw the profound qi released by Yiqing Qian, their mouths immediately turned into an O shape. Such a strong wave, the surrounding had already set off layers of huge waves due to the profound qi released by Yiqing Qian. In a split second the winds and clouds changed. I was wondering what had happened to student Qing Qian these few days. I didn't expect her to advance to the earth profound stage. She is indeed the eldest miss of 3 Springs sect. Her innate talent is so strong. The 2 students couldn't stop exclaiming. Even the other students looked at Yiqing Qian in disbelief with a flabbergasted expression. Although the high profound class was an extremely talented class, the overall level of profound grade was above mystic profound 6th grade. And those who broke through the earth profound stage, the first and second class added up were no more than 5. Yiqing Qian's profound grade had always stayed at mystic profound 9th grade. Especially recently no one paid attention to her. Unexpectedly, Yiqing Qian actually broke through the earth profound stage quietly. But this intruder is dead for sure. The high profound class students were rubbing their fists excitedly, as if they had already predicted the scene where they would bring these 2 intruders to the elder quarters to receive their commendation. The students of the high profound class were all outstanding students in terms of innate talent and perception. After exchanging blows with the intruder, they could sense that the lady's profound grade should be on par with them. Her only advantage was her precision, sensitivity, and speed. So what if he was fast? No matter how fast he was, he would eventually tire out. As long as this intruder had no intention of leaving alone, they would be able to exhaust her strength round after round. What's more, with Earth Profound Realm Yiqing Qian around, no matter how fast she was, could she be faster than an Earth Profound cultivator? Even the difference of 1 grade was like the difference between heaven and earth. Not to mention the difference of a mystic class. They were not on the same level at all. Yiqing Luo's eyes surfaced a sliver of astonishment. She had not expected Yiqing Qian to break through to the earth profound realm. The last time in the magic beast forest, Yiqing Qian was still in the mystic profound 9th grade and there was no sign of her breaking through at all. When Yiqing Luo was in the yellow profound ninth grade, she was stuck for a long period of time. She was obviously on the verge of breaking through but had no way to do so. But in a short span of half a month, Yiqing Qian broke through such a huge barrier. Chapter 335. Not giving Yiqing Luo much time to think, that strong aura had already attacked Yiqing Luo. Releasing the profound energy of the earth profound realm, Yiqing Qian's speed and the strength of the long whip had a qualitative leap. Yiqing Luo was fast, but she was even faster. The profound energy that lingered around the long whip seemed to have locked onto Yiqing Luo, as it tightly wrapped around her back. Yiqing Luo quickly stepped on the strange footwork. Her figure seemed to have disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. The other students who swarmed up were unable to use their naked eyes to track Yiqing Luo's figure. However, no matter where Yiqing Luo stopped, Yiqing Qian's long whip seemed to have grown eyes, chasing after her. Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed a trace of horror. Did she see it wrongly? It seemed like, on top of Yiqing Qian's long whip, other than that dark ray, there was a trace of faintly discernible black qi moving about. It was not obvious at all. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to tell. What kind of aura was this? Because of that moment of distraction, Yiqing Luo's right arm was swept by that long whip. Instantly, a hole was torn in her red robe, revealing Yiqing Luo's fair skin. On her arm there was a scarlet whip mark, extremely clear. Yiqing Luo felt a burning pain on her arm. Glancing sideways, that scarlet whip mark was already oozing blood. Intruder, don't you think you're very fast? Come, let's see if your legs or my whip is faster. Yiqing Qian's lips curled into a proud arc as she sneered and waved the long whip. Looking at the lady in red being whipped, Yiqing Qian had the pleasure of hitting Yiqing Luo that little waist. Her beautiful eyes were gradually dyed with an excited smile, as she raised the long whip in her hand and attacked Yiqing Luo once again. Luo lass, I'm afraid your eldest sister used some unusual means to break through the earth profound realm. Old man Song's voice sounded in her mind. Unusual means? What did he mean? Was it related to that black qi? It's similar to your fourth sister, she has the aura from the dark side. Old man Song's tone was solemn. He pondered for a moment and said, the last time your fourth sister used an item from the dark forces, it seemed to be related to your eldest sister. With old man Song's reminder, Yiqing Luo recalled that during the ability assessment, Yiqing Qian had personally admitted that she was the one who passed the long sword to Yiqing Ling. Her excuse was that she had borrowed the sword from her Shifu, the head of the largest school, the Ten Scenic. In this way, Yiqing Qian and that long sword were inextricably linked. Yiqing Qian really had connections with the dark forces? If your eldest sister really borrows the power of the dark forces and breaks through to the earth profound realm. Old man Song's tone became increasingly heavy. I'm afraid that your eldest sister will be the same as your fourth sister, controlled by the evil energy of the profound Yin. While conversing with old man Song, Yiqing Jian did not stop her attacks. Yiqing Luo endured the pain from her arm and swiftly changed her footwork. Surely Yiqing Qian hadn't really been forced by her and made a deal with the dark forces, right? Last time, in order to fight for Yiqing Ling to be allocated to the high profound class. This time, was it to prove her ability? In order to become stronger, he was willing to pay any price. While she was dodging and dodging, the students had already invited the elder from the entrance. The mighty group of more than 10 people wasn't the one standing at the front of the group of people, Elder Yun Xiang? Since yesterday, because of Lu Shuiyu's matter, he was caught red-handed by Yun Yun. In order to make Yiqing Luo satisfied, Yun Xiang was also punished on the surface. Chapter 336. Yun Xiang had thought that being in charge of the training forest was just opening the entrance and guarding the entrance to prevent students from getting injured during actual combat training. He had not expected that there would be an intruder. If this matter were to be passed to Yun Yun's ears, his small mistake would become a big one. Yun Xiang was filled with dissatisfaction and wanted to settle the matter as soon as possible, so he hurried over. Standing far away, he saw Yiqing Qian waving her long whip as she chased after a lady in red. There was also a low-leveled mirage beast, and 2 students were struggling to stop the mirage beast. What's going on? What's going on? How could there be an intruder in the heavenly training forest? Elder Xiang frowned as he walked over quickly. Qian kept her long whip and cupped her fists towards Xiang. Elder Xiang, the students from the high profound class will not let off anyone who tries to destroy the peace of the school. Xiang's gaze met Qian and a trace of astonishment flashed past his eyes. He could naturally feel the earth profound qi that was released from Qian. Another student from the high profound class had broken through to the earth profound class. Why was there no reminder on the school's wooden plaque? Lu Shuelan followed beside Xiang but realized that he kept staring at Qian and a trace of displeasure arose in her heart. Xiang had always been standing on Lu Shueyu's side, and now that she had replaced Lu Shueyu's position and became the acting vice president, it was only a matter of time before she became the vice president. But Xiang still had a lukewarm attitude towards her. Now he was still staring at Qian. Could it be that he wanted to groom Qian into the next Lu Shueyu? This thought made Lu Shuelan's eyes sunk and she immediately opened her mouth. What Qian said is right, our faculty council will not let the intruder off. However, Lu Shuelan's words made the surrounding high profound class students unhappy. What did they mean by faculty council? This was obviously the intruder who was discovered by the high profound class, and it was them who exhausted their energy to capture the intruder. How did it become the faculty council's credit? But due to Lu Shuelan's status, the students did not dare to voice out their dissatisfaction but only looked at Lu Shuelan's gaze with unhappiness. What faction are you trying to form? Settle that illusion beast for me. All of you quickly take down the intruder. The entrance is about to close. Xiang felt annoyed and waved his sleeves impatiently. He didn't have the free time to watch the disputes between some juniors, and he felt even more anxious in his heart when he thought about how there was only less than an hour left until the hour of 9. The white long robe swept past in the dark night, turning into an afterimage. The person had already rushed in front of Shiju. He waved his palm, bringing with it a wave of killing intent as he chopped down. Shangguan Fangyi and Yan Zhenfei immediately retreated from the illusion beast's attack range. The two people's bodies were already riddled with scars long ago, all scratched by Shiju's claws. At this moment 20 over high profound class students had surrounded Yiqing Luo. Class 1 and Class 2 had always been in a competitive relationship. But this time the two classes were surprisingly cooperative. Yiqing Luo's arm was injured and her profound grade was not enough to withstand the earth profound qi. The corrosion of the long whip caused her long arms to ache. At this moment, more than 20 Mystic Realms students swarmed forward. Suddenly, from Yiqing Luo's surroundings, a few gold coin darts suddenly flew over. The force of those gold coin darts was ferocious and strong, and with a swoosh swoosh sound, it revolved around Yiqing Luo. Those high profound class students were on high alert as they sensitively took a few steps back. A few gold coin darts were embedded deeply into the ground. Chapter 337. Only to see three figures approaching at an extremely fast speed. In just a blink of an eye, they were already standing next to Yiqing Luo. These three people were dressed in red robes and their heads were covered tightly, only revealing a pair of penetrating eyes. "There's help!" The student cried out in shock. Xiang was restraining Shiju when he heard this cry as he looked over with rapt attention. He saw another three intruders by Yiqing Luo's side. His heart suddenly trembled as he was overwhelmed with shock. The entrance to the heavenly training forest had always been sealed. Only today was the entrance opened and he had been guarding the entrance. If anyone were to barge in, he would definitely be the first to discover it. How could there be so many intruders? Quickly take down these 4 people. When we return, the elder quarters will send people to search the entire training forest and catch all the intruders. Xiang's face was gloomy as the moves he struck out became more and more vicious. Yiqing Luo held onto her right arm as her peripheral vision swept past the few people beside her as her pink lips pursed. "What are you guys doing here?" These 3 people were none other than Qiao Jin, Yan Xiaoyi and Tong Ziqing. When she saw Tong Ziqing, Yiqing Luo was slightly astonished. "Didn't you say that we need to nurture our team consciousness? We're a team, aren't we?" Qiao Jin smiled as his tone was calm. She did say that, but if the elder quarters were to find out, it would implicate the entire devil class. Yan Xiaoyi carefully avoided Yiqing Luo's injured arm as she patted her shoulder. Don't worry, even if we suspect the entire academy, the elder quarters will absolutely not think that it's the devil class. Stop the nonsense. Since you want us to understand what's called a team, why are you so apprehensive? Are you treating us as a team? Tong Ziqing scoffed coldly. Her gaze towards Yiqing Luo was as unfriendly as usual. But the meaning in her words was obviously that she had listened to what Yiqing Luo said previously, acknowledging Yiqing Luo as her companion. Looking at the three people beside her, Yiqing Luo's heart was filled with warmth. Her brows were filled with smiles as she slowly nodded. Yes, we're a team. Team. These two words Yiqing Luo had thought and recited for 2 lifetimes. Finally today she could openly say out the word, team. In her previous life as the head of the hidden family, she did not have the right to make friends, nor did she have the right to become companions with anyone. Everything she had should be given to the Yi family. This was the first time someone had treated her as a member of the team. She clenched her fists so tightly that she could no longer feel the pain from the whip wound on her arm. The corners of her lips curled up slightly, and there was a gleam of confidence in the depths of her charming eyes. Don't worry, I won't let anything happen to any of my companions. Yiqing Luo lowered her voice and shot a glance at the cat-beast young lady who was being guarded by Shangguan Fengyi. If there's a chance, help me bring that young lady away. As long as we bring her away, we can easily leave this place. Yiqing Qian also knew that her target was to bring that young lady away. It was to prevent her from getting close to the young girl and exhausting her strength. However, with the help of Qiao Jin and the others, as long as they cooperated well, it would be an easy matter to bring that young lady away. The few of them exchanged glances and nodded in understanding. Yiqing Luo's vision returned back to those surrounding students. Her gaze suddenly fell onto the wooden tokens on the students' waists, as her long and narrow eyes were suffused with a trace of treacherous craftiness. She abruptly raised her palm and a burst of profound qi was unleashed from both her feet. Chapter 338. The branches rustled and the fallen leaves on the ground were blown away by the strong wind. The shadows of the trees danced, and when the whirlwind blew towards them, those 20 over students felt a chill down their spines. Suddenly, a student cried out in shock, "My wooden token is gone." Mine. One after another, the students touched the wooden tokens on their bodies in disbelief. That wooden token represented their points, represented their honor in the class. There was only 1 hour left till the end of the actual combat training. If they lost their wooden tokens now, it meant that their 1 day's hard work and 1 day's blood and sweat had all gone to waste. 4 students' wooden tokens were gone, and the other students immediately covered their own wooden tokens. After they touched their own wooden tokens, they heaved a sigh of relief. Those 4 students' faces were like frosted eggplants as they held tightly onto their waistbands, searching their entire bodies but couldn't find their wooden tokens. How could this be possible? They had obviously pinned their wooden tokens on their waistbands, waiting for the end of the training to lock in their own results. But if their wooden tokens were snatched away at this critical juncture, they would be eliminated. 1 hour. The eyes of the 4 students slowly landed on the students around them. Those 10 over students who still had their wooden tokens immediately covered their own as they took a few steps away from those 4 students. Are you looking for your wooden tokens? I saw him earlier. He was the one who took advantage of the chaos to steal your wooden tokens. Yiqing Luo smiled innocently as her charming eyes curved as she pointed towards one of them. That person was stunned as his face flushed red. What nonsense are you sprouting? How could I possibly steal their wooden tokens? Yiqing Luo shrugged her shoulders. The gazes of all the students were fixated on that person. Especially those 4 students who lost their wooden tokens. Their gazes towards that person were filled with suspicion. It's not me. She's slandering us, trying to divide us. However, no matter how that person explained furiously, the students' eyes were filled with unconcealable suspicions. Suddenly, a sweet-sounding and calm voice rang out. Don't be deceived by the intruder. He wants to make us fight among ourselves so that he can seize the opportunity to escape. How dare he show off such a petty trick in front of me? Yiqing Qian's icy cold eyes stared coldly at Yiqing Luo as she scoffed. The intruder is already injured, the other 3 are nothing to be afraid of. The students were skeptical. After all, this wooden plaque represented the final results of their training. If he were to be eliminated in the last hour, he would definitely suffer from internal injuries due to anger. Take him down first. If we continue to waste time like this, our wooden token will be in even more danger. One of the students shouted impatiently as he took the lead to raise his weapon and charged towards Yiqing Luo's direction. He hadn't even taken a few steps when he heard Yiqing Luo's clear voice leisurely ringing beside his ear. "Little brother, there's someone behind trying to steal your wooden token." The student subconsciously turned his head to look behind him. He saw the student whose wooden token had mysteriously disappeared standing behind him. He glared at the student whose wooden token was missing. Before he could explain himself, a gust of wind came slashing down from his palm. "You from class 2, I didn't steal your wooden token. How dare you sneak attack me?" When this palm landed, the student was so infuriated that he opened up a map. The collaboration between the two classes, which had been built up with much difficulty, was once again on the verge of collapse. Everyone looked at the person beside them, feeling that the other party was trying to snatch their wooden tokens. For a moment, suspicions lingered around the students, causing them to be on tenterhooks. Brilliant. Simply brilliant. Xiao Jin's lips twitched a few times. He knew that Yiqing Luo was black-bellied, but he had never seen such a black-bellied one. Chapter 339. Yiqing Luo's eyes rose as she added a few hints of ridicule. The human heart was originally selfish. Especially for those from high profound class, they were arrogant and had a heart higher than the sky. Other than themselves, they wouldn't believe anyone else. Now that they were grouped together, it was merely to make use of each other to get what they needed. Yiqing Luo was just teasing her slightly, knowing that her words could possibly be fake. But they couldn't help but believe her words. Because they didn't dare to risk their own honor. What if the students from the other classes really wanted to snatch their wooden tokens? Class 1 and 2 students made a move, and that student from Class 1 called out the entire Class 2. This instantly caused Class 2 to rebound. Even if Xian wanted to suppress the current situation, the seeds of suspicion had already sprouted in both parties' hearts, and there was no way to maintain the peace on the surface. Yiqing Luo shot a glance at the three people beside her as the arc of her eyes became even more enchanting. Xian had been paying attention to Yiqing Luo's actions, and on seeing the few of them exchanging glances, her heart suddenly turned cold. Trying to escape from under her nose? Don't even think about it. Xian's figure turned illusory as she waved her long whip, like a snake sticking out its scarlet tongue, as it coiled towards the direction of Xiao Jin and the others. A dagger suddenly coiled around that long whip. The long whip quivered as it became taut and straight. On the other end of the long whip, a dagger was coiled around. The one holding the dagger was Yiqing Luo. Her fingers gripped the dagger tightly as she controlled Xian's long whip. Both parties were in a deadlock. The aura of an earth-profound realm expert constantly appeared on the whip's body. Wave after wave, through the long whip, through the dagger, striking onto Yiqing Luo's palm, which was holding onto the dagger. That strong profound qi had already corroded Yiqing Luo's internal organs at an extremely fast speed. Xian apparently didn't expect that there was someone who wasn't afraid of death, attempting to withstand her earth-profound realm's qi, to be in a deadlock with her. Xiao Jin's pupils dilated slightly. He naturally understood that Yiqing Luo had already used her own strength to go against an earth-profound realm, which was a huge risk. If she was slightly careless, there was a possibility of being swallowed by the earth-profound realm's qi. If it was him, he would absolutely not be as decisive as Yiqing Luo. Xiao Jin's eyes were filled with determination as he clenched his fists. "Wait for me." After saying these two words, the gold coin darts in his hand flew out like a fairy scattering flowers. While the students were dodging the coin darts, his figure became illusory and he broke through the students' encirclement. "Be careful. Don't let him bring away the injured intruder." Yiqing cried out in alarm, attempting to remind the high-profound class students. However, the students of the two classes were now suspicious of each other. He was afraid that when he went to stop the trespasser, the other students would seize the opportunity and snatch his wooden token. Yiqing was exasperated as she tried to retract her whip. But the other end of the long whip was held tightly by Yiqing Luo. Her eyes were covered with a layer of ruthlessness. Her slender fingers suddenly spread open, and a ball of earth-profound light enveloped her entire palm. Xianxia brushed her palm against the long whip, completely releasing the prestige of an earth-profound cultivator. For a moment, the entire training forest was engulfed by strong winds and huge waves. Thick and sturdy trees with luxuriant branches and leaves were rustled by the strong winds. The shadows of the trees danced in the wind as the bright moon in the sky shone through the gap which was opened up, scattering fragmented splendor. The ground started to tremble slightly. The surroundings beneath Xianxia's feet started to crack. All the students who were staring vigilantly at the people around them started to shift their gazes onto Xianxia. Chapter 340. Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk as an oppressive feeling gushed up her chest as she felt a fishy sweetness in her throat. She forcefully suppressed that oppressive feeling as the dagger in her hand curled around the long whip once more. Following that, she revolved her profound qi to protect her heart. An earth-profound practitioner's power is too strong. Student Yi won't be able to hold on for too long. Let's end the battle quickly. Qiao Jin saw Yiqing Luo's pair of charming eyes as it was masked with a ball of thick black color. His heart tightened as he speedily rushed towards that cat-beast young lady. Just as he was about to stretch out his hand to grab her, a long sword blocked in front of him. Qiao Jin speedily shot out a gold coin dart as it spun a few rounds and struck heavily on the long sword. Shangguan Fengyi's arm felt numb as his brows creased tightly as he looked at Qiao Jin. "You're in the way." Qiao Jin's brows revealed a sliver of impatience as he wasn't willing to waste time on Shangguan Fengyi. Yan Zhenfei, who was still recuperating by the side, gripped her twin blades tightly as she tried to block Qiao Jin's path. But a ghostly voice rang beside her ear, "Your opponent is me." Before she could get up, she was pressed against by a slender figure. The sharp dagger was pressed against Yan Zhenfei's fair neck. This voice made Yan Zhenfei's pupils constrict as an inconceivable expression flashed past her eyes. She speedily reacted as her petite body swiftly retreated a few steps as she turned her head to look at the lady who stuck close to her. When she met Yan Xiaoyi's pair of spirited but chilly eyes, she seemed to have sunk into a trance as the twin blades in her hands dropped onto the ground. The two people guarding the cat-beast young lady were subdued. Tong Ziqing speedily waved her long whip as it rolled up the young lady lying on the ground and pulled her into her arms. Following that, the three of them stopped at the same time as they speedily returned to Yiqing Luo's side. Yiqingqian's expression was gloomy as she had not expected Yiqing Luo to remain unmoved after she released her earth-profound stage qi. Instead, she restrained her even more. On seeing that young lady being brought away, she cursed in disappointment, "A bunch of trash." Her long whip shook as her profound qi turned into waves as it charged towards Yiqing Luo. But she had not expected Yiqing Luo to suddenly let go of her long whip when she was shaking it. "Retreat." Yiqing Luo took a deep breath, suppressing the sweet fishy feeling in her throat as she opened up her arms, pressing the few people behind her to retreat rapidly. The few of them had just moved when the wave of qi exploded with a loud bang. The place where Yiqing Luo was standing earlier had already turned into a huge black hole. "Shijue." Yiqing Luo shot a glance at the cat-beast young lady in Tong Ziqing's arms and immediately called out. Shiju was currently trapped by Yunxiang, unable to cross Yunxiang to help its master. Its eyes were already scarlet red, losing its patience. Upon hearing Yiqing Luo's call, the scarlet-red beast's eyes blinked as it gave off a low growl. The huge body that was trapped swayed, and its huge back was already arched in an attacking posture. Although Yunxiang was summoned here later, he understood the current situation. Those people's goal was to save the injured intruders. If this magical beast met up with the intruders would definitely escape. He waved his palms and an earth-shattering palm wind pressed down. He absolutely could not allow this mirage beast to leave. The raging wind swept past the trees, and that fragmented moonlight swayed, coupled with Shiju's piercing howl. It seemed extremely strange. Shiju's leopard claws slammed onto the ground as its huge body swiftly leapt up. It didn't hide, but instead it met Yunxiang's palm qi charging upwards. Chapter 341. That palm qi brought along the momentum of swallowing the mountains and rivers. But the minute it came into contact with Shiju's teeth, that palm chi which had swept up the fallen leaves and caused the surrounding wind to burst out, stopped abruptly. Shiju's teeth were like a sharp blade. When it opened its mouth it could bite off all life. Xiang had not expected this low-leveled mirage beast to have such an ability. After it broke through his condensed palm wind, that huge leopard's head was just inches away. Xiang's expression changed greatly as a panic which he had never felt before started to spread from the bottom of his heart. That pair of scarlet-red beast eyes shone with a coquettish brilliance, revealing an impatient murderous intent. Not waiting for Xiang to react, that huge leopard's claw stepped on his chest. His internal organs seemed to be squeezed by a heavy object. He fell heavily onto the ground as his white long robe was swiftly covered by the scattered leaves and dust. Shiju stepped on Xiang's chest and speedily rushed towards Yiqing Luo, giving off a sharp low roar. Well done. Yiqing Luo's pink lips rose under the veil as it floated gently onto Shiju's head. Her vision turned towards the back. Go up. It was the first time for the three of them to see a mirage beast at such a close distance. Even though they knew that this was Yiqing Luo's contracted war pet, but when they saw that leopard's head which was bigger than their entire bodies, staring at them with a pair of scarlet-red eyes, their calves couldn't help but turn into jelly. Mirage beast grade war pet. That was equivalent to an earth-profound realm cultivator's strength. Yiqing Luo was actually able to contract such a powerful war pet. Quick. Make the best use of the time. Yiqing Luo caressed Shiju's head. Shiju bent its four limbs as it lowered its body, allowing the few of them to climb up. Qiao Jin understood that this wasn't the time to be shocked by the mirage beast as he took that young lady from Tong Ziqing's arms and flipped over onto Shiju's back. Yan Xiaoyi and Tong Ziqing exchanged glances as they swiftly climbed onto Shiju's back. Trying to leave? How could Yiqing Qian let them leave so easily? The long whip waved over once again as her figure speedily chased up to them. Yiqing Luo had yet to leap onto Shiju's back when Yiqing Qian was already nearing. The long whip swept out in an arc, setting off a strong imposing manner, heading towards Yiqing Luo's face. Coincidentally, Yan Xiaoyi and Tong Ziqing had sat down properly and Yiqing Luo forcefully endured the discomfort in her body as her palms struck the ground fiercely and her figure swiftly soared into the sky, landing stably on Shiju's back. This action caused the veil on Yiqing Luo's face to be lifted. When the few of them sat down, Shiju's figure transformed into a bolt of lightning. In an instant he had already disappeared into the lush forest, disappearing without a trace. The entrance area was in a mess and many students did not even dare to breathe. The intruder left. With low-level magical beasts as mounts, there was no way they wouldn't be able to catch up to the magical beasts. As for Elder Xiang, he was severely injured by the illusionary beast and did not even have the strength to get up. The powerful qi that swept through the entire entrance gradually stopped. The fallen leaves slowly floated to the ground. And Yiqing Jian, who was originally waving her long whip to chase after him, stood stiffly on the spot. He even forgot to retract his whip. That beautiful face was filled with disbelief. She stared blankly at the direction where Shiju disappeared, as her heart thumped hard and trembled violently. Just now. The moment the veil was lifted, the outline that was vaguely revealed, that slender and fair jaw, rosy pink lips. Especially that pair of soul-stealing eyes. Yiqing Qian's heart seemed to be choked by something, even her breathing became heavy. That red-robed lady, was she Yiqing Luo? How could it be possible? How could she have the ability to enter the heavenly training forest? How could she have the ability? Recalling that low-level mirage beast, recalling the scene when Yiqing Luo sat on the high-level mirage beast's back, her expression instantly turned pale. Chapter 342. Shiju's speed was extremely fast and in a blink of an eye, it had already brought the few of them out of the secret tunnel. Before they walked out of the secret tunnel, Yiqing Luo called out to Shiju. They had already left the training forest. Shiju's size and its mirage beast's aura would easily attract the attention of the other experts in the academy. They had to be careful. After Yiqing Luo and the others got down from Shiju's back, Shiju turned into a palm-sized pet. Yan Xiaoyi stared curiously at that palm-sized Shiju. She couldn't imagine that this was the low-leveled mirage beast which had the size of a thick tree. The current Shiju which had shrunk looked like a cat and a dog. Its cuteness was evident. Let's hurry back to the devil class, change our clothes and deal with it. Yiqing Luo scanned the surroundings vigilantly. Walking out of the training forest, this was the academy's turf. If the hidden experts in the academy were to find out about their devil class's matter, what happened in the training forest today would definitely implicate the devil class. Your wound must be treated in time. Let's get Lulu to take a look at it when we return to the devil class. Yan Shaoyi looked at the wound on Yiqing Luo's arm which had already congealed into a blood scab as her slender brows creased into a bundle. Yiqing Luo's profound grade wasn't high but she was on par with an Earth Profound Realm cultivator. On the surface she looked fine but internally she had suffered a serious internal injury. Xiao Jin single-handedly carried that cat-beast young lady in his arms. Let's go. Devil class, Beiming Lulu's pharmacy. Yiqing Luo laid on the bed and her arm had been bandaged. Her face was pale without any color of blood. One look and one knew that her injury wasn't light. Beiming Lulu sat by the bedside and the silver needles in her hands accurately pierced into Yiqing Luo's various acupoints. Her medical skills were brilliant and she was confident that she could restore Yiqing Luo's body back to its original state. But it would take some time. Yiqing Luo's internal organs were all attacked by Yiqing Qian's profound qi. She didn't feel any pain when she contended with Yiqing Qian in the training forest but the moment she laid down and moved slightly, she felt a heart-wrenching pain. Looking at Yiqing Luo who was in so much pain that her forehead was drenched in cold sweat, Beiming Lulu sighed softly. I really don't know what kind of physique you have, your profound grade isn't high, to compete with an Earth Profound grade cultivator's profound qi. Your internal organs are almost shattered. It was strange. Beiming Lulu had never seen anyone with Yiqing Luo's physique. If it was an ordinary person, even if it was a profound practitioner of the profound realm, forcibly receiving the profound energy released by a profound practitioner of the Earth Profound realm would result in their internal organs being shattered and becoming a cripple. In the worst-case scenario, they would be devoured by the profound practitioner of the Earth Profound realm and disappear from this world. However, Yiqing Luo only suffered an internal injury. His 5 viscera and 6 bowels were intact. It was as if something was protecting her internal organs. Yiqing Luo's breathing was slightly unstable as Beiming Lulu kept pricking her body with needles one after another, causing her body to tremble in pain. Student Yi, you're too reckless. Looking at Yiqing Luo biting her lower lip tightly, sweating profusely in pain but trying her best to suppress the pain, Xiao Jin's tightly knitted brows creased into a bundle. He was at the scene and saw everything clearly. Recalling the scene of Yiqing Luo using the dagger to restrain Yiqing Qian and competing with profound qi, a chill ran down her spine. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly as she shook her head. I'm fine. Sure enough, he needed to improve his strength as soon as possible. She needed to find her own profound jade heart as soon as possible. Otherwise, based on her current strength, if she met someone with a higher profound grade, she would be helpless. If it wasn't for the fact that the Azure Dew bracelet had activated its protection mode in time and used the enchantment to protect her internal organs, her injuries would definitely not be just this. Chapter 343. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched as she revealed a faint smile. She could tell that these people were genuinely concerned about her. I'm really fine. If it wasn't for your help today, I wouldn't be able to bring this lass away so smoothly. Yiqing Luo's brows were tinged with smiles. We're a team and today's coordination was extremely good. Xiao Jin and the others saw her smiling so peacefully as an indescribable gloominess gushed out from their hearts. Student Yi, I hope that in future when you're facing danger, you'll think of us behind you. Tong Ziqing, who was leaning against the door with her arms crossed in front of her chest, putting on a sour face, her icy cold gaze swept past Yiqing Luo. We don't have that kind of leisure to be able to rush to your side in time every single time. Seeing Tong Ziqing's obviously concerned but awkward look, Yiqing Luo laughed softly. Yes, I won't do it in future. Her charming eyes curved into crescents as she smiled, like a bright crescent moon, radiating brilliance. The others looked at her smile and that indescribable gloominess in their hearts slowly dissipated. Not knowing when it started, Yiqing Luo seemed to have become the core in their eyes. Yiqing Luo had obviously joined Devil class for merely half a month, but her position in their hearts was the same as Long Yunzhan. Perhaps it was because when Yiqing Luo first entered Devil class, that confident and resolute gaze, using her own ability to speak boldly, had awed them. Or perhaps it was because every single time Yiqing Luo was able to use her words and her views to convince them. Or perhaps it was because Yiqing Luo obviously looked cold and indifferent, not someone who liked to meddle in other people's business, but towards all the students in the class she had never been stingy with her help. Especially today she faced 20 over high profound class students alone, not panicking in the face of danger. Even after they appeared in order to ensure their safety, she went against Yiqing Qian's actions alone. Their hearts were completely shaken. They asked themselves honestly, if it was them, would they really be able to be so resolute? That's right, where's that young lady? The minute she reached Devil class, she was forcefully brought to Beiming Lulu by Qiao Jin, and that young lady was sent somewhere else. The room next door. Tong Ziqing frowned and a trace of impatience flashed across her eyes. I didn't expect student Yi to be so kind. For a girl whom you don't even know, you actually wanted to rescue her from the hands of more than 10 high profound class students. Do you really think that you're a god? Tong Ziqing really couldn't understand why this seemingly cold woman would save someone completely unrelated to her time and time again. Previously he had helped Ni Rupan and now he had saved that strange young girl. Furthermore, both of them were extremely troublesome. Could such a kind person really stand firm in this world in the future? She's not an ordinary person. Yiqing Luo had no intention to tell them in detail about the matters regarding the Beastmen clan. Old Man Song had said that the Beastmen race had already been extinct in the entire Nirvana realm. Even if he said it out loud, these people might not understand and it might even cause panic. She chose an explanation that everyone could accept. Look at the ears on her head and that black tail. She's not a normal human. Qiao Jin and the others already had doubts in their hearts. This was the first time they had seen a person with a pair of cat ears and a cat tail. This was the reason why Yiqing Luo chose to save that young lady. Chapter 344. Qiao Jin and the rest didn't say anything else. Beiming Lulu had already finished her acupuncture and heaved a sigh of relief. Rest for a few days. In less than 5 days I guarantee you will be back to your previous state. 5 days. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased as she shook her head slowly. No way, I must go for the freshman training. If I don't go, I'm afraid our actions today will be exposed. In the training forest, when she leapt onto Shiju's back, she seemed to have seen Yiqing Qian's astonished face. Yiqing Luo wasn't sure if Yiqing Qian had recognized her. If she didn't attend the freshman training at this time and stayed in Devil class, based on Yiqing Qian's character, she would definitely be suspicious. If Yiqing Qian knew that she was the one who saved the young lady in the training forest, she would then trace it back to Devil class. The current Devil class wasn't strong enough to contend against the entire academy. Long Yunzhan must have the same thoughts as her. If the academy knew about Devil class's students' aptitude and forcefully allocated them to the intermediate or low profound classes, and they didn't have the ability to make these students stay, then the gains would not make up for the losses. Before they could confirm, they couldn't take the risk. Just based on your current state, you still want to attend the freshman training? Beiming Lulu put down the bottles in her hands as she rolled her eyes at Yiqing Luo. Don't spoil my reputation as the #1 divine doctor. I'm afraid tomorrow. Yiqing Qian will come to the freshman training ground to confirm. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips. She also understood that with her current physical condition, it was impossible for her to complete the freshman training. But if she didn't go, Yiqing Qian would place the suspicion on her. She couldn't risk the entire Devil class. At most we'll let Master Gui Yu apply for leave from the instructors. Just say that Master Gui Yu is training us trash, and wants you to be a training example. Yan Xiaoyi clapped her hands fiercely. Right, let's do it this way. This will only make Yiqing Qian more suspicious. Yiqing Luo shook her head as she lowered her head to look at the acupuncture point on her chest and gently breathed out. Is there any way to cover up the whip wound on my arm? Qiao Jin's expression changed. Who cares if she has suspicions, we'll deal with it when the situation calls for it. Earlier you said you won't joke with your life, aren't you playing with your life? I know what I'm doing. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as her lips curled into an extremely shallow arc. Lulu should have a way to make me get off the bed tomorrow. Biming Lulu slightly raised her eyebrows. She was extremely confident in her medical skills. Of course, but it's only limited to getting out of bed. If you participate in the freshman training, even if my ancestor comes back from the dead to heal you, it would still be impossible. Yiqing Luo nodded slightly. As long as I can get off the bed and act like a normal person, that's enough. Move like a normal person. Biming Lulu creased her slender brows. Although your internal organs weren't crushed by Yiqing Qian's profound qi, but you're more or less injured, and the moment you move you'll feel pain. It's a little difficult to move like a normal person. It's nothing. Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards. It was just pain, she could bear with it. In the past she had endured all kinds of hardships, tiredness and pain. Even if someone were to take a knife and cut her flesh, she would not make a sound. Chapter 345. Based on Yiqing Qian's character, if she had any suspicions today, she would definitely not be able to sleep at night. Tomorrow morning she would be waiting at the training grounds to test if I'm injured. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly as a cold arc flashed past. If I were to go to the training grounds safely and let her see it with her own eyes, it would dispel her suspicions. Then, just like what Xiaoyi said earlier, before the training starts, let Teacher Guiyu bring me away in front of her and everything will fall into place naturally. Yiqing Qian's character was to only believe what she saw with her own eyes. As long as she could prove that she was not injured and safe in front of Yiqing Qian. No matter how much suspicions Yiqing Qian had, she would not be so sure. An Guiyu's character had always been to do as he pleased. Even if it was in front of the instructors, forcefully bringing her away was a very normal thing. The few of them looked at each other. Yiqing Luo's method was not impossible. But did Biming Lulu really have a way to let Yiqing Luo act like a normal person tomorrow? Madam Qing Luo. A weak voice was heard from the door as Ni Ruopan stood at the door. If Yiqing Qian doesn't believe me, what should we do? Yiqing Luo spread out her hands and shrugged. If she doesn't believe me and wants to test me, I will give a signal for Teacher Guiyu to bring me away in advance. Yiqing Qian doesn't have the guts to go against Teacher Guiyu. She had already thought of an escape route. Let's follow Student Ye's method. A figure dressed in a blue robe walked in slowly from behind Ni Ruopan. Class monitor. The few of them stood up and greeted Long Yunzhan. Long Yunzhan nodded his head as his calm gaze fell onto Yiqing Luo. After some time he flipped his palm and a jade bottle appeared in his palm. This is the actual combat training's reward. Congratulations, first place. Although Long Yunzhan was congratulating her, but his tone didn't have any undulations. Yiqing Luo was slightly stunned as she looked at the jade bottle which Long Yunzhan passed over. First place? My points have not changed since the beginning, how could I possibly be first place? She spent the entire day with Ni Ruopan and the magical beast points were all used to give Ni Ruopan actual combat experience. Her wooden token had always been 30 points. After that he barged into the high profound zone and met the students from the high profound class. How could he get first place? You have 106 points in total. Long Yunzhan's vision swept past Tong Ziqing, who was leaning against the door with a sour face, and immediately returned to Yiqing Luo. This is your reward. 106 points? Oh my god. So many. Yiqing Luo's charming eyes suddenly flashed as though she understood something as she looked straight at Tong Ziqing. You've given all your points to me? Tong Ziqing snorted coldly. 30 points are the initial points. Under your guidance, Ni Rupan has gained 14 points. Take the remaining points as a gift from me. With that, she turned around with a proud look on her face and left the pharmacy. How willful. What happened to the strong desire to win? Was it really a good idea to give her the first place just like that? Madam Qing Luo, actually vice class monitor, and the rest will rush over to the high profound zone to look for you. It's all thanks to Sister Ziqing, she's actually very concerned about you. Ni Ruopan looked at Tong Ziqing's departing figure, worried that Yiqing Luo would get angry, so she hurriedly explained for Tong Ziqing. She originally didn't like Tong Ziqing's character. She only felt that Tong Ziqing was too overbearing, using her power to bully others. Usually the one who led the bullying was Tong Ziqing. Chapter 346. Ni Rupan could no longer hate Tong Ziqing for what she did. From Ni Ruopan's mouth, Yiqing Luo then found out that Xiao Jin and the others were able to rush over to the high profound class in such a timely manner and specially prepared their red robes and masks, was all thanks to Tong Ziqing. From the moment they entered the heavenly training forest, Tong Ziqing went straight in, looking for magical beasts to accumulate points. It was Ni Rupan's first time in the training forest, so her physique was far from Tong Ziqing's. She could not keep up with Tong Ziqing's pace. He was thoroughly humiliated by Tong Ziqing. Tong Ziqing directly pushed the battered Ni Rupan to the side when they were killing the demonic beasts. She then scolded the wretched Ni Rupan for not being a hindrance since she was a good-for-nothing. Ni Ruopan's pride was insulted as he left Tong Ziqing and walked back to the entrance to wait for Yiqing Luo. Following that, under Yiqing Luo's guidance, they killed magical beasts one after another. While Tong Ziqing was accumulating points, she suddenly discovered that the points on the wooden tablet had mysteriously increased. She felt that it was strange, thinking that there was something wrong with the wooden tablet. To prevent the class leader from accusing her of cheating, Tong Ziqing specifically found Xiao Jin and explained the situation. Xiao Jin guessed that Ni Rupan killed the demonic beasts to accumulate points for her team. Tong Ziqing could not believe that Ni Rupan, who was so useless that she would gasp for breath after running a few steps, could actually kill a demonic beast. His points were still increasing at an average rate. How could this be? Hence Tong Ziqing, Yan Xiaoyi and the others followed the location indicated by the wooden token and found Ni Ruopan, who was hugging Yiqing Luo's uniform and sprinting with all his might. After knowing that Yiqing Luo had a conflict with the high profound class students, Tong Ziqing immediately rushed over to the high profound zone. I know. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but chuckled after she heard the entire sequence of events. Her existence made Tong Ziqing feel threatened. Since Tong Ziqing had feelings for Long Yunzhan, it was only natural that she would target him previously. She knew that Tong Ziqing had wholeheartedly agreed with what she said in the class committee room. It was just that she was unable to lower her pride to ask for peace with Yiqing Luo. Such a proud and awkward little girl was quite cute. Also, Ni Rupan glanced at Yan Xiaoyi from the corner of her eye, then she lowered her voice and said, "I'm afraid classmate Yan has been recognized too." "What do you mean?" Ni Ruopan licked her dry lips. High profound class's Yan Zhenfei is student Yan's elder sister from the same father and mother. Yan Zhenfei's innate talent has been strong since young and was admitted into Heavenly Academy at a young age. In just 1 year she passed the semi-annual class promotion test and entered high profound class 2. Hearing this, Yiqing Luo roughly understood what Ni Ruopan was trying to express. These students in devil class were all trash in the past and Yan Xiaoyi was no exception. Her talent was not as good as her sister's, and she had been living under her sister's brilliance since she was young. Everyone could only see Yan Zhenfei but not Yan Xiaoyi. Hearing Ni Ruopan's concise and comprehensive description of Yan Xiaoyi and Yan Zhenfei's relationship, Yiqing Luo recalled that she and Yiqing Qian were once like this. However, her unexpected arrival had changed the fate of this body. But Yan Xiaoyi was different. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she stared at Yan Xiaoyi with interest. She didn't believe that Yan Xiaoyi would obediently live outside of Yan Zhenfei's halo. Based on Yan Xiaoyi's character, she would absolutely not allow herself to be at a disadvantage. Behind this halo, it was hard to say who was in charge. Chapter 347. Ever since Ni Ruopan entered Devil class, she had been extremely cautious. To integrate into Devil class, the first thing was to understand the students in Devil class. She was most proud of her memory. Because of this, she had memorized the information and hobbies of the people in her class. Towards Yan Xiaoyi, she had some understanding. "No worries, it's the end of the month holiday in a few days. By then I will think of a way to dispel Yan Zhenfei's suspicions." Yan Xiaoyi waved her hand indifferently, totally not putting Yan Zhenfei in her eyes. When she first came to Devil class, her motive was to work together with Long Yunzhan, to lead the Devil class until they could contend against the high profound class, then participate in the school's competition. Ruthlessly slapping Yan Zhenfei's face, ruthlessly stepping on the pride of the Yan family. Even if Yan Zhenfei knew in advance, so what if Yan Zhenfei recognized her? What could Yan Zhenfei do to her? Ah, that's right, it's almost the end of the month, the school will have a 3-day holiday. Bei Ming Lulu's eyes lit up. In this case, student Yi, you can no longer participate in the training. Holiday. Yiqing Luo then recalled that it was indeed written in the booklet that the school would have a holiday on the last 3 days of every month. No matter if it was a master or a student, they had to leave the school. This was the school's tradition and rule. Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk as her slender brows creased slightly. A holiday was much more troublesome than staying in the school. In the school, she could still make use of Guiyu to cover up her injury. But if she returned to the Yi family, Yiqing Qian had borrowed the power of the dark forces and had just advanced to the earth profound stage. If she returned to the Yi family, she would not be able to live peacefully. Looked like. After hiding in the school for the past few days, she would have to hide for the 3 days of holiday. With Lu treating you, by the time the holiday arrives, your body should have recovered by 70 to 80%. Xiao Jin leaned by the side as his brows rose slightly. Based on your ability, when you return to Three Springs sect, Yiqing Qian won't be able to gain any advantage from you. Bei Ming Lulu nodded. If student Yi cooperates, she will indeed be able to recover by 70 to 80%. Looking at these people, Yiqing Luo's heart was filled with warmth. Everyone in the devil class treats you as one of the team members and is very concerned about you. So, I hope today's incident will not happen again. Long Yunzhan, who had been silent, opened his mouth faintly. He stood by the bed, his gaze indifferent and his expression indifferent. Only that pair of rippling blue eyes gazed intently at Yiqing Luo, revealing some seriousness. Yiqing Luo met that pair of blue eyes and was slightly stunned. She suddenly recalled that day, the conversation between him and Chi, and her heart suddenly trembled. There were so many people in the pharmacy. Yiqing Luo resisted the urge to ask him about Chi-Chi's whereabouts and his relationship with Chi, nodded her head and responded yes. Today's actual combat training, you were almost discovered by the high profound class and caused such a huge commotion. It's your fault. After you recover from your injuries, you will be responsible for the cleanliness of the devil class for 7 days as a warning to others. Class monitor. Xiao Jin opened his mouth, trying to plead for Yiqing Luo. Long Yunzhan casually glanced at Xiao Jin. His expressionless face and eyes were as calm as water, adding a bit of indifference to his whole person. Xiao Jin immediately fell silent. This is indeed my fault. I am willing to accept the punishment. When she did the action of going out to save that young lady, Yiqing Luo had already guessed that this action of hers had already violated the devil class's rules. Long Yunzhan's punishment wasn't considered heavy, and it was only on the surface to warn the other students. Long Yunzhan didn't say a word as he remained silent as when he came, as he calmly turned around and left the pharmacy. Yiqing Luo's eyes widened as she stared at Long Yunzhan's back view. He wasn't going to tell her where Chi was. Chapter 348. That night, in order to prevent Yiqing Qian from hesitating and purposely waiting for her in the dormitory to see if she was injured, Yiqing Luo got off the bed after pulling out the silver needles. Just like what Bei Ming Lulu had said, the moment she moved, her internal organs would be affected and there would be bursts of throbbing pain. Yiqing Luo endured the pain and wore her uniform neatly. After looking at her in the mirror for a while, apart from her pale complexion, she didn't seem to be out of the ordinary. Holding the painkillers that Bei Ming Lulu had prescribed for her, she had just walked out of the devil class when she saw Lu Xiaoyu standing at the entrance of the devil class, waiting anxiously for her. Qing Luo. Lu Xiaoyu saw her and immediately went forward. Her eyes were filled with worry as she stared at Yiqing Luo from head to toe. She wanted to support Yiqing Luo but didn't dare to touch her. Vice class monitor asked you to come over? One look at Lu Xiaoyu's expression and she knew that she was specially waiting for her. Lu Xiaoyu nodded, her bright eyes were already filled with tears. He said you had suffered a serious internal injury but you can't let the other students know, so he asked me to fetch you. Xiao Jin was considerate. Her current condition indeed made it impossible for her to return to the dormitory normally. With Lu Xiaoyu around, at least she had the strength to support herself. Yiqing Luo didn't say what had happened, so Lu Xiaoyu naturally wouldn't ask. Lu Xiaoyu was an intelligent girl and knew the reason why Xiao Jin specially asked her to fetch Yiqing Luo. She was like usual, holding Yiqing Luo's arm with one hand, her face revealing the same smile as usual. In fact, Lu Xiaoyu's position could support most of Yiqing Luo's strength. On the way back to the dormitory, Lu Xiaoyu kept on chattering about the intermediate profound class, talking about the things that the masters had taught her recently. Yiqing Luo occasionally responded. From Yiqing Luo's increasingly heavy body, Lu Xiaoyu could feel that Yiqing Luo's body couldn't take it anymore. Finally returning to the dormitory, she had just opened the door when she saw Lu Xiaoyu sitting there asking around, her eyes staring straight at Yiqing Luo. Lu Xiaoyu's expression congealed as she slightly straightened her back, giving Yiqing Luo a strong support. "Qing Luo, the instructor said that today's training will add a new exercise. Let's rest early today," Lu Xiaoyu said as she held her arm and only released her when they reached Yiqing Luo's door. Behind him, Lu Xiaoyu sneered, "Why does it look like student Yi is struggling to walk?" Yiqing Luo's heart trembled fiercely. As expected, Yiqing Qian recognized her. When she leapt onto Shiju's back, half of her veil was lifted by Yiqing Qian's whip, allowing Yiqing Qian to see it. But she didn't expect that Lu Xiaoyu would still be in contact with Yiqing Qian after the violation of the academy's rules, and even came to test her on behalf of Yiqing Qian. Yiqing Luo chuckled lightly as she glanced sideways and sneered, "If the former vice president has the time to pay attention to me, why don't you think about how to get back your position? If you lose the faculty council member status, you won't be able to see your dear president anymore." Yiqing Luo chuckled. With just a few words, he poked at the sore spot in Lu Xiaoyu's heart. Lu Xiaoyu slammed the table and stood up. Her cold and elegant face immediately showed anger. However, Yiqing Luo didn't bother about her as she opened the door and walked into the room. Chapter 349. Yiqing Luo had just closed the room door and that forcefully supporting body leaned against the door as she panted heavily. But when she smelled that familiar sandalwood scent in the room, she was completely stunned. She immediately raised her eyes and saw a tall figure standing in the middle of the room. He was dressed in a purple robe and the ink was loose on his shoulders. That peerless talent, usually filled with smiles whenever he saw her, was expressionless. That pair of gleaming peach blossom eyes were sinister and treacherous, revealing a few hints of danger. This gaze made one's back go cold. Yiqing Luo's body suddenly tensed up. She had never seen this expression from Zhou Xian. Zhou Xian had never revealed such an expression in front of her before. Her heart trembled fiercely. Zhou Xian knew what happened to her today. Yiqing Luo took a deep breath, suppressing the intense beating of her heart. She had just opened her mouth to speak a word when she softened her tone. Xian. Zhou Xian wasn't like usual. When he heard Yiqing Luo's intimate call, he beamed with joy as he went forward to embrace her into his arms. He stood on the same spot, filled with viciousness, his thin lips pulled, forming a frosty arc. "Lil Luo, really enjoyed herself today so much that you can't even stand properly now?" That voice seemed to be wrapped in frost, making one shudder. Yiqing Luo was in the wrong. She had caused herself to be seriously injured, making Zhou Xian worried. It was her fault. Seeing Zhou Xian's viciousness getting thicker, Yiqing Luo's pink lips pouted, her eyes were stained with tears as she looked at Zhou Xian pitifully. Her voice was sweet and coquettish. "Xian, I'm in pain." That tone was one which Yiqing Luo had never used before. It was a little aggrieved, a little choked. "Oh, you also know pain?" Zhou Xian's obsidian-like destructive eyes was biting cold as he sneered. Yiqing Luo bit her lower lip as her eyelashes were stained with tears. "I'm in pain, so in pain. I need Xian's kiss and hug to stop the pain." This method of acting coquettishly was unparalleled. Zhou Xian's face, which seemed to be sealed in ice, started to show some cracks. Yiqing Luo had been paying close attention to Zhou Xian's expression and seeing that acting coquettishly worked, she might as well throw away her moral integrity and coquettishly said, "Xian, I'm in so much pain that I don't have any energy. Carry me." Zhou Xian's face was still cold, but he still walked over and hugged Yiqing Luo's waist in his arms. His movements were fast but extremely light. Yiqing Luo almost didn't feel the pain from her body when she fell into the man's arms. That elegant sandalwood fragrance lingered around her nose, and Yiqing Luo's heart, which had been hanging in suspense, gradually calmed down. Zhou Xian carried her all the way to the bedside. Just as he was about to put her down, Yiqing Luo's slender fingers suddenly grabbed onto his robe. That uninjured arm circled around Zhou Xian's neck, encircling him. The girl's sweet and exquisite face came close to Zhou Xian's eyes. With the fragrance of a young lady, Yiqing Luo's pink lips pressed onto Zhou Xian's. Her actions were a little careful but also a little fawning. After a peck, Yiqing Luo moved her lips away as she buried her head into the man's chest. "Ah Xian, I didn't intentionally let myself get hurt. My plan was to coordinate with Shiju to save that young lady without any harm at all, but I'd not expected Yiqing Luo to have broken through to Earth Profound grade." Zhou Xian didn't say a word, and towards Yiqing Luo's kiss, he didn't turn passivity into initiative like in the past. Could be seen how angry he was right now. Chapter 350. After acting coquettishly, she also fawned on her. Yiqing Luo felt that she had already thrown away her moral integrity. That young lady was from the Nirvana realm's secret beast race. Saving her might allow her to form a contract with her, to open up her bloodline. If the young lady wasn't willing to form a contract with her, then she would have another beast race friend. To Yiqing Luo there were only benefits and no disadvantages. Under such circumstances she would naturally be fully prepared before she stepped forward to save her. Initially, when she took a liking to Shiju, what attracted her the most was Shiju's speed. If she wasn't able to save her and the situation changed, she could totally ride on Shiju and leave swiftly. Furthermore, she had the secret art of teleportation on her. If she sensed that something was amiss, she would be able to protect herself by displaying her teleportation. Because of this, she dared to use her own strength to go against 10 over high profound class students. But no matter how she calculated, she hadn't calculated that Yiqing Qian had broken through to Earth Profound Realm, nor had she calculated that Qiao Jin and the rest would rush over to help her. Escape route? This is your escape route. Zhou Xian scoffed lightly as his fingers suddenly moved and easily undid Yiqing Luo's waist seal. Yiqing Luo's petite body stiffened. His fingers parted her uniform, his fingertips faintly brushing against her skin, causing her to shudder. Yiqing Luo's breathing suddenly stopped, not understanding what Zhou Xian's actions meant. Yiqing Luo's clothes were already half opened, revealing the fair skin on her left shoulder. Zhou Xian's fingers slid down and revealed her entire arm. Her arm was wrapped with a layer of medicinal powder, but it still couldn't hide the blood scab from the whip, which was extremely conspicuous. Zhou Xian's peach blossom eyes squinted slightly as his fingers suddenly pressed on her wound. Hiss. Yiqing Luo sucked in a breath of cold air in pain as her body kept on shrinking backwards. That finger which was pressing on the wound, on hearing her cries of pain, couldn't bear to loosen his strength. Immediately after, a cool feeling was emitted from Zhou Xian's fingertips. That cool feeling, after it had passed through the wound, the pain from Zhou Xian's pressure disappeared. "Ah Xian." Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes guiltily as she softly called out Zhou Xian's name. "I'm sorry, I know you're angry with me, I promise. Promise there won't be a next time, alright?" Zhou Xian remained silent as he calmly took out a jade bottle from his netherworld dragon ring and changed her dressing. His expression was ice cold and his eyebrows were calm. However, his actions were extremely gentle. As though Yiqing Luo was his treasure. He held it in his mouth, afraid that it would melt, and held it in his palm, afraid that it would fall. His cautiousness made Yiqing Luo's eyes suddenly warm up as her nose turned sour. In front of others she was confident, insolent, and arrogant. Only in front of Zhou Xian she was like a little woman. Even if a knife was pressed against her neck, she would not show the slightest bit of fear or the feeling of wanting to cry. But this man gently helped her apply medicine, which made her so touched that she wanted to cry. Even more than that, she was filled with guilt. "I know the current me is no longer alone. Devil class's companions are very important, but you are even more important." Yiqing Luo's curly long lashes fluttered as she gazed deeply at the handsome face which was just inches away from her. "I've made you worried, I'm sorry." The wound on her shoulder had been bandaged again. Bursts of cool feeling drowned out that pain. Zhou Xian's slender fingers hooked onto Yiqing Luo's clothes as he gently and slowly helped her put it on. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.